All right, new at 10 o'clock tonight, DNA and Ancestry.com have unlocked a family secret for me that old pictures had kept to themselves for generations. It's been a mystery in my family for years. Who am I? Well, we'll start with this picture of my great-grandfather. This is Alfred G. Wilson and his wife, Nancy. Nobody in the family ever talked about him or knew anything about him or what I'm about to share with you as we head for the far corner of Virginia, where Kentucky, Tennessee, and North Carolina all come together.
In the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, deep in the heart of Appalachia, is Big Stone Gap and some deep, dark secrets of my ancestry.
I'm always happy to see you.
My 97-year-old Aunt Opal is the oldest living memory of my past.
Like, that's my dad right there. That's your brother.
That's Paul. That's my mother. There was 3 girls and 2 boys, and I'm the last one of that family alive.
Aunt Opal leads us to where the Wilson family tree ends, with my great-grandfather, Alfred G. Wilson.
I know he was in the Civil War, but that's just really about all that I know.
And with that,
yeah, these pictures are great. I love the suspenders.
genealogy researchers from Ancestry.com help us bridge the gap.
Alfred became a mystery man in the family because nobody seemed to know what happened to Alfred.
His life begins in Statesville, North Carolina. This 1862 muster roll shows Alfred enlisting in the 33rd North Carolina Confederate Regiment. But just 4 months later, Alfred ends up in Winder Hospital in Richmond.
I think to spend more than a year in a Civil War hospital sounds like a fate worse than death, honestly.
To find out what happens to Alfred next, we follow the trail to the Southwest Virginia Museum, where I finally get my hands on a Spencer repeating rifle. Most likely what Alfred used during the war.
This thing is heavy, but you'd put this on your, on your horse and you'd take off. But you'd have 5, 6, 7 rounds before you got killed. And, it was a brutal time in our history.
Alfred's Confederate regiment lost key battles at Fredericksburg and Gettysburg. When he leaves Winder Hospital, Alfred then faces a life-changing decision.
This document tells us that he is AWOL and that he deserted.
Oh, whoa, wait a minute here.
He doesn't go home and goes all the way out to Knoxville to enlist for another North Carolina regiment. The key difference here is that this is a Union regiment. So this is a man who 8 months after leaving a hospital.
So he became a Union soldier. Oh, yeah, now I know why they didn't talk about it. The Civil War was brutal on these border states, particularly Virginia and this part of Virginia, because the mountain people didn't really own slaves the way the Easterners did, and they resented that. But depending on what side of the fence you were on, you had brother against brother, father against son.
Unlocking the secrets of Big Stone Gap's past is a lifelong mission for local historian Dr. Lawrence Fleener.
There's nobody that would hate slavery worse than an escaped slave or their grandchildren. And we're still suffering and paying for the sins of our forefathers on that issue.
Right.
Whites were once enslaved here in the Appalachian Mountains. That could explain why this region was home to so many deserters, like my great-grandfather. After the war, Alfred married Nancy Bartley, who was 20 years younger than him, but in an ironic twist.
Her father and her brothers were all in the Confederacy.
2 families on opposite sides, coming together at a time of healing for the nation. A poignant lesson in my family history for all. No matter how divided we are, survival means working together. Good old Aunt Opal swears by it.
You need to have good vibes.
Good vibes? Good.
And you figure out what vibes are while you've got it made.
Well, I can tell you the Wilson family got plenty of vibes from this. It turns out that Alfred's grave was just a mile from my family home, and we didn't know about it. In dense brush and undergrowth, and my son Mark here and his brothers Patrick and Paul, you guys found it.
It's really amazing because the interesting part is we already have a family cemetery right behind Opal's house. This is about 2 miles away. And how long you been up there? 60, 70 some years? Never even knew it was up there. And there's Alfred's grave right there. That grave right, look at that, 1827.
Well, the thing about this that really stirs me right at the moment is that Alfred had this phrase on his tombstone, and it is, "The trial is o'er, thy will is done." He was obviously a religious man, and he had been through a trial. He was 83 years old when he died in 1910, and it was a trial indeed.
And we did find another couple of gravestones up there that are family names that are new to us.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
That's going to be the fun part for us now, is taking some of those other names. And we were up there last week in Virginia. We had people come up to us and say, "I'm related to so-and-so who's related to you." We say, "Wait a minute, let's go through the list. Which one are you now?" So it's like a whole new discovery for us.
Now, we have a lot of cousins we didn't know we had.
And Ancestry.com is really amazing because you've always been interested in this, just sharing it with
That's right.
Mark.
Right.
And then what you found out is really
And the
so
DNA
important.
too. Tell them about the DNA.
Well, the DNA took us to the Wilson family to England and Scandinavia. And we've got a lot of the story to put together ourselves still yet, so we've got some work to do. And thanks to Mark and the boys that they were able to find that gravesite, that it was so close to home. Mark even found the boat that the Wilsons came ashore on.
I actually printed it with the help of the folks on Ancestry, and quite frankly some other people as well who are on the who are already building some of these trees. We were able to put in some of the names, and not on the Wilson side, but this will be Dad's grandmother, the Robinette leg of the family. We traced all the way back to northern Umberton, England, and a Matthew Edlow arriving in James City, Virginia, which of course we know now is Jamestown, in 1618 on the ship the Neptune. Some of the very earliest settlers of Jamestown, right there.
See what you found out,
Yep.
which is fascinating, very interesting.
Thanks for doing that. So the Wilsons have got work to do, and we'll take care of that. And make sure you ought to be looking into this yourself, because it has a way of bringing us all back together again in a very divided kind of culture we have now. And many folks, in fact, have been sharing their family stories with us. Look at this one. Donna Jones adopted 2 daughters and then found out she was actually related to them, that they are cousins of hers. Kathy Jost-Schuss discovered that one of her husband's cousins was, well, not a very good guy. He was part of the Dillinger gang. And Sherry Griffin traced her family back to 339 AD, more than 50 generations, to a man from Wales named Padarn before surnames were even used. You can share your stories on our Facebook page, My Fox Tampa Bay, and Mark and Cynthia are going to be back here in a little bit. They got more of these family comments at 11. Kelly?
So fascinating. All right, thank you guys. Well, we're continuing.